Good afternoon, everybody. I want to welcome you here to Prog Monster. My name is Murph. I am the host of this show, a show dedicated to progressive rock and other forms of rock music. Need the drink. So, we're here to do an episode of Commonalities Compared. This is a show we do every Sunday night, although I'm not sure yet, but I think this might be the last one. Actually, I think next week is actually the last one. Even if it isn't, next week will be the last one. So we decided to give it a rest, and try something different. We did this with Ben's album challenge too, something we did for about 50 episodes, and then we decided to do this because we needed to do something else. If you do too much of the same thing, sometimes it kind of wears on you. I'm sure that Ben will come up with another idea about something he'd like to see. Very, very, well organized guy, knows what he likes to hear, and so I'm thinking that I'm very lucky to have a guy like that who can put some ideas forth and help the channel. And so we've had a good collaboration with the different stuff we've done in the last 3-4 years. He doesn't really want to be on the camera. He's got a family and everything and just wants to do his thing. So we practice working together. It's really good. He comes up with some ideas. I tweak them a bit, make them presentable for the channel, and then we go about it. And we're going to do some more of that today. So today we're doing the commonalities compared. For those of you who are new, first, is basically he gives me two rock commonalities. They have something in common. They could be two bands. They could be two artists, album cover artists. They could be two directors. They could be two bass players. And in this case, they are two guitar players. The founding members of both Deep Purple and Black Sabbath, two of the premium rock bands out there. So for Deep Purple, we are going to be talking about Ritchie Blackmore, of course. And for Black Sabbath, none other than Tony Iommi. Both very influential guitar players. Their styles are very different, but they have a couple things in common. They both helped form bands that were kind of forerunners to heavy metal, if you want. Precursors to heavy metal, or whatever you want to call it. Proto-metal bands, if you want. Both of them highly influenced on that genre. Also, both have a hard rock influence. The Black Sabbath maybe became a little more metal-like when Dio joined the band, but for initially they did have a lot of a metal sound to them, but there was also quite a bit of hard rock, stoner rock, even some folky stuff in there, and prog, all in Black Sabbath. Deep Purple, the same kind of things going on, just a different sound because Deep Purple had taken on a keyboard instrument as a prominent part of their music, which gave them a lot more of a prog sound. Not so much on Black Sabbath. They did have a keyboardist that occasionally played on some tracks on their studio albums and sometimes toured with them even. But basically they were a 4-piece, whereas Deep Purple was a 5-piece. Both these guitarists are fantastic. Though, of course, Ritchie Blackmore went on to form Rainbow later, and then he did his own personal private stuff for his own solo stuff, which I'm not nearly as familiar with, so I don't really want to get into that direction. So both are very distinctive guitar sounds. Of course, they formed several bands. Well, in the case of Blackmore, he formed several bands, where in the case of Iommi, he was the former of Black Sabbath. So both have had great lengthy careers playing guitar. Very different styles, though. To me, Iommi, although he does do the lead stuff quite a bit and is a metal sounding lead, which also Ritchie Blackmore has as well. I think his strength lies in his riffing. He is a master rifter, one of the best. If I was to do a top 5 master rifters, he would definitely be on that list. Ritchie Blackmore, yes, he does do that riffing part as well, and does it well. But I think he's more of a classical, before we get to that, he's more of a soloist, a lot better on the solos than I think Iommi is. Not that Iommi is bad; he's definitely a great one. But I think probably Blackmore is a little bit higher up on the echelon in that area. They both coincidentally both have a classical nature to their music, which I never really thought much about until Ben brought this up, and then I started thinking about what things do they have in common, and they both have that. Ritchie Blackmore, of course, a lot of classical influence on his music, even so far as the song "Smoke on the Water," where he took the elements from Beethoven's Fifth Symphony and turned it around backwards, and then played it as "Smoke on the Water" with some slight alterations to it. But absolutely loves his classical stuff. Very innovative that way. Iommi the same. Iommi, Black Sabbath doesn't get enough credit for being influentially progressive at times too. If you listen throughout Black Sabbath's history, though, you will find parts on their albums that are acoustic guitar parts. Sometimes there are electric acoustic guitar parts, if you know what I'm saying. It sounds very acoustic, but he likes that classical sound, that classical guitar sound as well, Tony Iommi. Structuring a lot of their songs along that. And, with the lyricists in both bands, especially in Black Sabbath, the lyrics are political at times, religious at times, but always thought-provoking. And the same thing happens in some of the Deep Purple stuff as well, and even more so in the Rainbow stuff once Dio joined. They also have that in common, having both worked with Ronnie James Dio as a lead vocalist. I wonder what would have happened if they had switched positions, if Blackmore had come and taken over the guitar parts in Black Sabbath, and Tony Iommi had gone and taken the control of the guitar parts in Deep Purple. Would the music be relatively different, extremely different, or maybe they would be a lot similar? It's hard to say. Sometimes great guitarists can take on projects that are seen as not really their style of music, but they can perform at it. I've seen this with, we'll look at Rush's live cover album where Alex Lifeson has done covers of songs from legendary bands, and he does them quite well because he can adapt. A lot of these great guitar players are able to do that, and I'm sure both of these guys could do it easily. I'm not sure that Ritchie Blackmore would want to do it. He tends to be very much bullheaded about what he wants to play, and that's just the way it is. Not entirely like Robert Fripp, who is also that way. But both of them have a heavy element to their music, and both of them play lead guitar the way I grew up to listen to lead guitar. So yeah, but they do have some interesting differences. I think Ritchie kind of had an idea that he wanted to be more successful commercially, and was a little bit envious of what happened with Whitesnake and wanted to try and emulate more of that, where I don't think Iommi cared as much about that. He just wanted to keep putting out strong music. Yes, during the Tony Martin era of Black Sabbath, they were more commercial than I think they'd ever been at that point. But I wouldn't really call it commercial. I mean, it did have that commercial element to it. But both this just shows the latitude that both guitarists had, and about the innovation of both guitarists to try different things that normal people in their particular genres would not try. And so I give them full kudos to that. I love both guitarists, but I love them differently. I love the thunderous sound that Tony Iommi creates in Black Sabbath more than any other element in either of these guitarists' repertoire. I enjoy that aspect of Tony Iommi's guitar part the most. I do love Ritchie Blackmore's lead parts. He isn't. When you see him playing these things, it's astonishingly how good he really is on those lead parts on the guitar. Yeah, fantastic. Anyways, I've enjoyed doing this episode of Commonalities Compared, featuring both Tony Iommi and Ritchie Blackmore and their guitar abilities. So hopefully you've enjoyed this as well. Please hit the like and subscribe if you've enjoyed this episode. Don't forget to make your comments in the comment section. Maybe you favor one or the other guitars. Maybe you don't see similarities between them at all. Or maybe you think they're almost identical. It can switch from place to place. Please, whatever you want to say about them, you can say in the commonalities. If you got a question, you can ask it. I'll try and answer it. Or if you just want to make a statement, you can do that as well. Anyways, I hope you've enjoyed this episode. We will see you next Sunday, and I believe that will be the last episode. Whether it's number 50 or 51, I'm not sure, but we're going to make that the last one next week for Commonalities Compared, and then we'll come up with something else that's equally interesting to do. So take care and have yourself a good evening. Goodbye.